All right, now I want to switch to the fires in Spokane. It's been 12 days. It seems like, yeah, it's only August 13th, my computer says, but it was August the 1st when those fires ravaged Spokane. The latest total I've seen is, I think, 913 structures, mostly homes, that were lost to those three fires. And the most devastating of those fires is the one that we know was set by an arsonist. He was captured on video and he has confessed to not only setting that fire, but apparently while he's been in Spokane for the last few years, at least in the last year, he claims to have set as many as 24 other fires. We're working to find out if any of those ended up resulting in any actual property damage that he can be tied to. But one of the homes that was lost was the home of State Representative Jenny Graham. That's her district, the 6th district. She actually was painting in her den that Saturday afternoon as they were getting ready to put the house on the market because she's not running for reelection and moving to Florida. That's when the alarm call came in and said, "You have to evacuate now." And she told me in an interview today that they really had just minutes. She had her elderly mother. Her husband was out of town. She had her elderly mother. They had to just grab a few things and basically race to escape the flames, and they lost everything. Um, she got into office originally, I should remind you, because her sister was murdered by the Green River Killer, Gary Ridgway. And she's been a tireless advocate for victims, really, in the state of Washington, as many of our policies have kind of gone toward helping the defendant rather than the victim of crime. That's why she got into office. And 8 years later, she says she's leaving because she doesn't feel safe in the state of Washington anymore. And unfortunately, she didn't get out before her home was destroyed. But at this point, she's not allowed to even contact members of the media, contact her constituents because of election rules in the state of Washington. I didn't realize that until I reached out to her. Mind you, she's right now, all she has is her personal phone. She lost her legislative issued phone, her legislative issued laptop, and everything else that she owns in the fire. She's now at an extended stay place so she can remain in the district to serve out the remainder of her term. But the fact that she can't contact constituents because of these election rules, she thinks those need to be changed. She's reached out to the governor's office, as I did today as well, to say, wait a minute, we're in a national emergency here. Shouldn't we be able to lift these rules to allow lawmakers to contact their constituents at a time of crisis?
I did have an experience at one of the briefings and press availability, the first one. uh, I was there. The governor has to know. It's been on social media that our house burned to the ground and our entire neighborhood burned to the ground in the Old Trails Rifle Club Road fire. He literally walked by me, no acknowledgement whatsoever, no phone calls reaching out, how can I help? I'm so sorry, this has happened. I'm a city lawmaker. And this does make it hard for me to have any sort of confidence that my request to allow us to be able to communicate with our constituents who are in need, um, it doesn't give me a whole lot of confidence that they'll do the right thing and suspend that rule to allow us to be able to help our constituents. This truly is a time when, regardless of what your political party is, we should be able to come together. And I don't see that as coming together when the Republicans are not being allowed to speak. I will say that Congressman Baumgartner was able to speak, and that's great. But, this really should be applying to all of us in this situation. There shouldn't be a party attached to it. And unfortunately, that is exactly what's happened right now.
And lastly, there is the agreement with the accused arsonist, the man who says he set the most devastating of those 3 fires that destroyed most of the homes. He left Arizona and came to Spokane after he was released from prison. He served 10 years after he killed his father, was able to plead that down to a manslaughter charge and got out after serving 10 years. And then, with an arrangement here in the state of Washington, he was able to come here, even though he did not complete, and I've seen the court documents, and we've reported on this as well here at the Center Square, that he did not complete some of the parole requirements, like going to mental health counseling, having a review there, and completing domestic violence uh, classes. So he did not do that, but he was still allowed to come to Washington to live with his girlfriend and her family here in Spokane. Here's Representative Graham on that.
That he was convicted of murdering his father, trying to kill his mother, and shot himself. He was adjudicated, he was let out early. Um, there were supposed to be some requirements in place that he was not following. And regardless of him following through with the expectations, he was allowed to seek being placed in Washington state. And there are concerns right now with how Washington state handled this.
Right.
Did this guy go through an evaluation? Was that a requirement? It's my understanding that Washington state was supposed to be supervising this individual, and I'm not clear right now as to why either that was supposedly happening or it wasn't happening, and if not, why. Those are questions on behalf of my constituents, and all of the people that are connected to this deliberate, heinous crime.
Now, as I mentioned, Representative Graham is asking Governor Bob Ferguson to lift the election rules. It's not a law, it's just election rules that preclude lawmakers from contacting constituents during election time. And you can understand why those are in place. You don't want, lawmakers dialing up constituents and saying, "Don't forget, vote for me, and here's why my opponent is, not the one you should be voting for." I can understand why those are in place, but at a time of an emergency like this, and she's not running for reelection, so she wouldn't be contacting them in that capacity. It might make sense to lift some of those rules. So again, I did reach out to the governor's office at the time we're recording this podcast on this Thursday. I have not received any response from the governor's office. She's also called for a special session. Representative Graham is calling for a special session to kind of address some of the loose laws in Washington that allow somebody like the accused arsonist, the confessed arsonist, to come up here, even though he had violated parole requirements. Um, why did we make that deal and bring him here in the state of Washington? And now he's confessed to destroying so many people's lives. So those are some things that Representative Graham suggests need to be dealt with in short order. If I receive any response from the governor's office, I will include that in my article to be published today at the Center Square Washington page. So that's it for today's episode of Washington in Focus. A lot covered here today. And as always, I thank you for watching. I appreciate your comments and subscriptions to our show. It matters a lot to us. And I hope to see you again on Friday.